Okay. Okay, so let's get started. So your first task will be converting an implementation of the try data structure from Java to Python. And you'll do this, in this case, without the AI support. And your second task will be converting an implementation of the priority queue data structure from Java to Python. And you'll do that with AI support. And also because this is a long thing, we'll take a break between those two tasks. We'll take 5 in the middle.
Okay.
So first, let me tell you a bit more about this first translation task. The task is, in both cases, the task is to attempt to work towards, during the time available, to produce a complete and working translation. And by complete, I mean, you're working towards having all the functionality and documentation from the Java code is translated. And by working, I mean, the code has been tested for correctness. Again, we know that there's not enough time to accomplish all of that, but just working towards those as goals. As I mentioned earlier, there's more work to do that can be accomplish a perfect translation, and that can be done in 30 minutes. So we're just really asking you to do as much as you can in the time you have. And you'll notice that you'll face trade-offs, like in how you spend your time, like whether you choose to translate all the functionality first or do just a portion of it while testing to make sure it works. And how you navigate that is completely up to you. One of the things we're interested in is how do people approach this? So however you would normally approach the task as normally as possible. I know it's strange being in a study, but no one's usually observing you while you're right. But that's what we're interested in. Let's see. So a couple other things I should mention. You'll be using an online version of the VS Code editor. I'm going to give you a link that's all set up with the files you need and things. And it is almost exactly the same as the desktop version of VS Code, with a few differences. Some of the all of the menu commands and keystrokes are available, but some things are put in kind of a different sort of menu, more like a hamburger menu. And if you encounter difficulties with the tool, we can I can try to help you work those out. I won't be able to answer any technical questions about the code or what it's supposed to do, but one thing I can tell you is that the source Java implementation is correct. It doesn't have errors in it. And when you make the translation, for purposes of how we're going to see how the two versions differed in the end, it would be very helpful if you preserve the class and method naming convention from the original, but we're less concerned about the variables. Like if you change the variable names, that would be okay. And you can use, this is the Google part, you can use whatever resources you feel would be helpful, such as searching the web or Stack Overflow or running any of the code, since we've installed both a Java and Python editor. And I will give you a 5-minute warning when we're coming to the end of the 30-minute span. Okay, so, and while you're working, to the extent that it's possible, if you could sort of think out loud, so you can sort of just say what you're doing, now I'm reading this and I'm going to start writing, whatever you're doing. And the only time I'll probably, I'll go on mute and sort of just observe and take notes and things. The only time I would probably come off mute is to say, hey, what are you thinking, if you fall in silent for a while, because it can be hard to keep thinking out loud after a while. Okay, do you have any other questions before we get started with the first task?
Sure. Just one. Just to be fair, I'm familiar with priority queue. Like I know how it works and what it is, but I have never dealt with try before, or I don't even know the functionality. So I don't know how you want to study the difference there, but I can see a difference there.
So because it's a translation task, it's not necessarily an advantage that you already know how the priority queue works, because the task is really to see how it's done in Java and do it that same way in Python. Whereas since you know how to do it, you could just immediately sit down and write it without even having the source, but it might be done in a different way than the source did it. So the idea is to do it as a translation. So that's a good point. But I think in this case, because it's translation from an original source, it sort of will smooth out. Although you
Sure.
probably have really good testing instincts in the one you know better. Well, and
Okay.
this is on the recording. We have notes about these things, so we'll take that into account.
Okay.
Let's see. So now I need to give you. So we'll begin the task. What I'm going to do is give you a link to the task one, and I'm going to paste it here in the chat. Okay. And this should open up on your screen. And if you could open up and share the view, that it should open up VS Code with some files in it already in it in a browser.
A lot of tabs open, trying to find it.
I know, I have so many tabs. I totally know that problem.
Yeah, so when I'm seeing that side, I just have my monitor there. It's not like I'm not ignoring you.
Oh, no, I totally understand that as well. Okay. Great. So, right. So you see on the side there, there's two files. One is try.java. So that's the source Java version. And then the other file says try.py, and that should be where you put your translation. Now, if you're happy with the way they're displayed like this, that's fine. Many people ask if they can display them side by side, and there is a way to do that if you, yes. Oh, you already, of course, because you're familiar with. So, okay, so I'm going to start the clock and you can begin.
Okay, thanks. This. So this looks like the constructor. I think I'm gonna Google a lot of stuff now. Put it as a list. List.
What are you thinking about?
Instead of just the whole hash map, I'm just thinking of doing a base implementation of list of lists. So whenever I have something, I'll just add it in form of a list instead of an actual hash map in Python, I guess. Okay, now for the constructor. Oops. Okay, when I'm trying to just copy whatever is there, I'm kind of losing thought on my syntax. Like, I have the tendency to copy the Java syntax. Mm, okay, constructor for try. I guess this is the initialization. So for this part, Yeah, I think I'm just doing a line by line translation of everything. Public wide. So,
thanks. That's great thinking out loud.
so yes. So, and I think since mostly we don't need the data types in Python, just like a copy paste and trying to reword them is making it faster. So current, we want current is root. So you're saying current dot HTML, okay, not complete of the percent. You already declared this thing. Okay, I honestly don't know what this does. But current dots, we need to figure this part. Complete the website. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that later on because I'm not sure what it does. Now we're trying to find something. See, closing. Why did you declare it? Oh, just here. Okay. Foreign die. Okay, okay. Um, which, no. See which, yeah, do, children. Okay, this is where my get.ch log because my children is a list. So we cannot have a list. We're basically looking for a dictionary. Um, So it can still say dot get ch. You got some mail if mail get mail. Otherwise, there's no and then okay, that solves that. So now we're deleting a word. Delete word. And okay, there is a delete function. So we are sending fruit, word, and 0. Word is here. Just start fruit. I hope I have a reason there. We come to delete. So public boolean delete. Okay. And word index. And then index equal to word dot length. It's supposed to be Python. Okay. It is the Python account. We've got in between. Current website. And then return locate children is empty. What is in month. Okay. Let's do not return models current children. So this is okay. Next we see it was dot character index or index. Okay, it is so that should be fine. Node equals current dot children dot exceed should be fine. Node equal to rows. Okay, and Boolean should delete current node. Delete and if is current dot capture one dot remove. I don't think it got removed. So we pass a telling might pass key. Okay, tell this is my tip. So that is my key. Don't get children. Switch open is much more. Okay. Return. So, okay, remove it. And then return current dot get children dot is empty. What do I do for that? Okay, once we return files. Enumerate seems to on the track. Okay. List entries. Okay. Wow. Must be an intelligent function. No, it is not on here. Basically, move printer, I think is an empty space. Okay. So we're calling in.
Just letting you know there's 5 minutes left. This is awesome what you're doing, so keep on doing it.
Okay. Okay. Almost at the end, but I don't think I'll make that. So this is going to be an empty list. This is the start field. Entries. Honestly, is another list. So I'm just going to send it a list. Using return entries. Well, I have to return that here then. Oh, this is like a square of exactly. Also, I'm not sure if Python supports path by reference. Okay, to change. I see. Okay. So then increase is going to list. Entries return entries. Do we need this? Okay. Public void. This entry. It is going to be entries. Going to be open node. If current is in the word entries dot add. So entries dot append. What is entry? Okay. Entries dot append entries. Object case is equal to dictate keys. Okay, so my keys is going to be current dot get children dot keys. Okay. Okay, in keys. Entry dot append. Dot key. We need to do that. Yeah. Okay, entry dot append is the string. So let me declare the source of the string.
Okay, I'm sorry to ask you to
Yeah,
stop because
it's
you're doing amazing. You've gotten really far, but we have to stop now because the 30 minutes are
sure.
up. That was fantastic. Let's see. So now what I need to do is ask you, I'm going to share a link to a survey form.
Okay.
Then we can fill out the task 1 survey. So there we go.
Yeah.
And it actually does help when you fill out the survey, when you click that link, if you share your screen, because you may have questions about the fields and I can answer them if I see what you're seeing. All right, so your participant ID is P7.
Mm-hmm.
And you had no AI and try, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Into depending match our read success. Well, I think my test cases would definitely have failed, and I would have needed at least a couple of retries there.
This is a case where on the scale it has perfect on the left and failure on the right, which is a kind of, I'm just letting you know from what you just said, because I know the other ones say very low and very high.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an error in the form. Just letting you know.
Right. Thank you for that. Yeah. How did you have to make it? So different activities, I'm assuming it's the translation as well as testing here.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yeah, just what your approach was. Yeah.
Well, I could understand most of it except I guess a tiny bit. You want me to put some water, a great deal?
Let's see. Do you feel understand? You feel you can understand all of it, did you say? I would say you could say a great deal.
Just lines here and there, not I wasn't sure about, but otherwise it was fine.
I guess right. So you almost understood it all. So a great deal. That's not 100%. It's most of it, I'd say. Yeah.
Why?
I guess you can here you can say which, yeah, qualify that answer.
Okay. I thought about something in between, some feedback, but I don't remember what was it about.
Mm.
Mm,
Right. You saw something in the in the Java or that you wanted to tell us about.
Something was confusing for me.
Let's see. You mentioned
I mentioned that seeing this, my brain was like it was urging me to put the semicolons in Python as well.
oh, I see. By looking at the two formats.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To put it in words, though.
Sure. Let's see. Are you saying that it was hard to write review two languages at the same time, basically? Because
Yeah. I mean, it's not because I didn't know that, but just that when you see a semicolon here, and I just have the urge to put it here as
I
well.
understand. Natural, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess that's all. Should I submit it?
Yep. That's great. And you can even close the editor, and then that file will be just saved and everything.
Okay.
So now we could take a 5-minute break and then come back and do the second task.
Sure.
So it's let's see. So just in 4 or 5 minutes, we'll just come back. I'm going to just leave my screen on, and
Sure, I'll do the same.
I guess just turn your camera on when you're back and then we can start again.
Sure. Just give me a moment.
Sure. I didn't mean to rush you. I just I just realized I was on mute. So
I was gonna say that, something you said before about the translation not making a difference if I had prior knowledge or not. I think that's very true.
Oh,
Like,
really? You think that's true? Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I technically didn't know what the function was trying to do. I just had to do a basic translation line by line, and just syntax would make sense for that.
Right. It would be different if you had to write it out of your own head from scratch.
Exactly. True.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so we're ready to start task 2. And this is the priority queue task. And in this test, you'll translate priority queue data structure from Java to Python with the help of an AI code translation and a system. So our system, and we do have an AI model that does this, is able to automatically translate code from Java to Python, but it doesn't do a perfect translation. So the translated code may contain errors, just like people. It's not perfect. And so we've used the system ahead of time to create separate Python translations for you, 5 separate ones. And so when you open up the editor, I'm going to give you another link. You'll see, you'll be able to see these, and how you use these translations to complete your task is completely up to you, but they are translated by the AI. So let me give you the link and I'll explain the files that are there.
Sure.
So it's sort of the same thing. It should open up a completely configured VS Code editor with files. Then if you could share. Yeah, so those are the 5 files. So the AI generates, it tries several times, and those are 5 different attempts to translate that it did. And then the idea is that you should put your work like that. So your job is the same to translate this into Python, but you can make use of those translations if it helps you. But your final translation should still go in that priority queue.py file.
Okay.
So the other ones are like source files for you. You can use them how you want. Yeah. So are you ready to begin?
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. One, does this still have the what do you call? Probably the same features of the editor, right? Where it tries to autofill it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So since I have 5 options, probably best to go through them and see if there is a difference between them. Sorry, is there a way to open them multiple windows side by side?
I believe that if you drag, I think that if you drag them out, it highlights big blocked areas and shows you where you can drag them. Maybe you can't open them more. Oh, you've got 3 open there. Yes. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't think it's it's very smart. Let's try with 3. This is where I find. Okay, I think I'm still trying to find a way to set it up properly. But probably this works. Okay. So this would definitely be the same. And then I have a because TQ so self.stream. I have this. Okay. Okay, now coming to the insert. This should not change. Int index equal to heap that size. So this is definitely same. And then heap dot add item. Using an item. I don't think this is correct. So dot item might be correct. Once y index is greater than 0. Index. If parent is less than item, we have to compare this. It would be easier if I can do like a diff of all these 5 files, but I'm not sure how to do that. Budget control. See. I guess having so many options is a bit confusing. But I'm maybe going to use my judgment to just select what I want, I guess. Maybe opened it. So see. parent index, self dot heap of parent index, if parent is less than heap dot get parent index less than, okay, heap dot set parent index combinating set index parent index equal to parent index versus break. Okay, this three here. Now coming to remove. Remove if syntax is equal to 0, return none, return none. Swap the list item with the first. So next element, okay, dot heap of 0. Okay, yes, even that heap, so let's leave the element self dot heap 5, dot heap, and it's good. This one, why are they trying to do that? Removing highest priority item. Oh, I have to remove it. I haven't removed it yet. Okay. Can I still use Google here?
Yes, it's the same as before. Any tools you want to use is fine.
Okay. Self heap of 0, self heap of index. And we basically remove the last elements of the heap to set it. And because we define the element. Okay. It should be straightforward. Okay, size is done. In case um okay, it's a 40 second. Okay, if next let's see we can say using rate. Okay, empty. Selection to option 4. Implementation. Okay, enumerate. The results and deliver the copy that it could. The option results results equal to interest by mod of C equality While not self-toxic, not if it is not empty, results.append, self.remove, okay. Otherwise, self dot okay, we could conditionality between results. Three is self dot helps and no. I don't think I have any research, so self.append should be good. Keep is an empty list. Element in connections. So items and items select. Items items. Interesting that last one should keep if I need more of a control balance or anything. So, okay, coming to keep it from if size is greater than 0, left index is equal to index dot equals 1, right index equal to index dot, okay. Parent is equal to get index, okay. Max index is equal to index if left index is equal to less than 6. And she dot its left index greater than parent greater than compared to less than plus of that out. Max index is now we dot set index we dot get max index keep of max index parent keep max index size, okay. Just need to check these comparisons. Comparator should be greater than 0. Greater than 0 should be greater. So you're doing comparator string. If the string is, if this is greater, second one. So this has to be greater. Features. So which is greater? S1 is greater. Then it has to be greater. So if greater it is. So greater than 0 is right side is big. So parent is greater. Optimus is greater. And index. Okay, I think it's less than that because most of them say it's greater than. I'm gonna change it to greater than, I guess. This is it. Think I'm done with the basic translation. Do you have any data for input?
No, and also we're right at the 5-minute warning point, so this is awesome. I don't have data for input. You can attempt to test it in any way you can. You do have time. You
Okay.
5 minutes. And it does work. The editor does work too. It allows you to run. See that arrow? Like if you select your Python file, it should get that run arrow, and you can try to. I mean, if you wrote a test.
Okay. So even the Java doesn't have any test, I guess, right?
That's correct. So that part you would have to write yourself if you have time.
I'm not sure how to write the test case. I don't remember the syntax for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside, site content. So, including insert. Including and simplifying inside. nothing to print up all the values. Okay, let's see. So now empty, and then you need to have 11, apply to that 11, and 11, 10, 2, 1, 5. I don't think that seems right. Just thinking about anything. It's better if I use it's it's
All right, we are out of time. That was amazing. You got really far.
okay.
So that was fantastic. Now, I have another post questionnaire survey. I'm going to paste for you. And if you can just close that and the files will be saved and everything. Okay, so I just put the survey link. Okay, so you're P7, yep. And this time you had AI in. Yes, perfect. Okay.
It was the same, it was high.
Is that more effort than you thought the other one took? I'm trying to, you thought it was harder.
Yes.
Okay. Why was that?
Mostly because I was getting irritated by comparing 5 options at a time.
Okay.
Maybe the view, or even if they were all side by side, and just
Right.
highlighting what the difference between each was
Mhm.
might have been easier. But for me to go to each of them 5, try to understand what each of them are doing and get the best out of it was tiring than if you just would have told me to Google it and get the answer. Probably that might have been
I
a
see.
little,
Okay.
I wouldn't say faster. I think this was faster, but
Mhm.
it was challenging for me.
Okay. That's great feedback. Thank you.
How successful were you in accomplish?
And this is the one where it's flipped with perfect on the left and failure on the right.
This time I think it was pretty okay.
Okay.
How hard did you have to work? Hardness. I was quite annoyed this time.
I'm sorry. Thank you for putting up with it to do the task. It's very, very helpful to us.
I mean, it's good that I had options. Like, as you saw, I was able to finish it beforehand, but
Right.
just thought it was kind of giving me so many options. Comparing them was a little weight on the brain.
Okay, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Please assign your overall search to spend cost. This is something I can give them the feedback. I think it was good. But again, I saw that out of the five options, a couple just had very weird ones, and most of them they tried to be as close as to the correct implementation. So
Okay.
I'm rating it on an overall of five options, but if I had to maybe rate them separately, might
Oh,
be
I see. So you could say under Y, you could say as an average, are you saying across them, across all five? And it might be useful to write, if you had to evaluate them individually, you might have thought differently what you just said. That's good information.
honestly better than what I expected. I mean, I was able to understand the Java code before I saw the Python answers, so I think I'm just going to leave it as not at all.
Okay. Mhm.
The provided translations need to work in this. So, do you want me to rate this mentally or like the way I was able to finish the task.
Right. It's basically about how you feel about it. Do you feel that it was? So that's more, I guess, the mental effort side.
Okay. So this means it was difficult than your.
Yes, it made the task a little bit more difficult, it sounds like. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say difficult, yes, but it was more efficient. I would like to use that word.
Right, but you felt it made the test. It was that's good. We'll capture that. Uh, right. In fact, there's a field down below where you can even write that it made it more efficient, but it sounds like it was mentally taxing.
Yeah,
What
I,
you're
I
saying.
think you
Yeah.
captured that in this question. Like,
Okay,
was it?
I see. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because we're interested in all of those things. Because even if something is efficient, if it feels bad, it's not. It could be improved.
If you don't do back in this task, that's the worst. Is this I think maybe a little better, but
Okay.
I'm okay with a neutral opinion on this as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, mhm.
Did this make sense, or do you want me to add some other words for it?
No, that does make sense. You would like to see the line by like a five-way diff, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we understand.
So, I mean, probably if I had this feature, I wouldn't have been such mentally stressed just
I
to
see. Right. So
remember going to every file and see what was there.
right. So it's not inherent in having five translations, but an interface could help, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would have just probably the easiest approach would have been to choose the most repeated one.
Yeah.
If three of them are saying that, I would have believed that must be correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Following one, two, two, what extended transmission help. Normal working conditions. Yeah, if I had a lot of time, it would be helpful. Under time pressure, mentally not.
Okay. Yeah.
Working alone. I think working with someone else, it would have been difficult because I get another option to discuss.
Even more. Yeah. Yeah.
Working on code that only I would use. So
I
only I
guess instead of sharing it in a GitHub repository with others, if you were just writing some code that only was for something you were doing alone, I guess.
Okay, so I wouldn't bother about efficiency then. So just basic approach would be fine then.
I see.
I mean, then I wouldn't want to go under that mental stress.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Code with that my team members or other people would use. So yeah, here maybe I'm willing to put in a little of that mental stress. So
Okay. Yes. I see what you're saying. Mhm.
honestly, not so sure.
Mhm.
But I think probably if there are more people to scrutinize and you have more time,
Mhm.
probably the best solution out of it. So yeah, I'll probably
Okay.
want to help.
Mhm.
Production code. should help while working on experimental or prototype. Slightly. All these slightlys are generally because all year I noticed that for the previous task, I had to Google a lot of stuff. But this time when, I know what it might be, so just looking at those options was kind of
Okay. Mm-hmm.
a situation. Hmm. So are you saying is this going to be just purely AI supported code without any human interaction?
Um, w no, it's sort of with working with a person. In which situations would it be helpful to have AI provide us a version as input to the human programmer? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
Which
So we still need the AI support for the translation. It's not taking over for you.
okay. Oh, which code needs to translate 1 million? I think obviously code's runtime performance is improvement. I guess all these questions they depend on how much you trust the AI code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to answer just on this one example that I saw?
Let's see. So when the code is, yes, use it, because this is a quiz about, well, it's difficult. So imagine that this one code example occurred in those different situations. So for example, if it was needed in a healthcare application and it was this particular data structure code. Yeah. It sounds like these are harder to answer, would you say?
Yes.
Mhm.
I think I'm not entirely sure about this whole part.
That's okay. You've said that and we have your comments recorded, so just answer the best you can.
Okay. Which I'm unfamiliar. Is written in language. Translate it to language. So why I'm putting these both as slightly is if I'm not familiar with one language
Mhm.
and the options I saw, I could make out a few basic syntax errors.
Okay.
And that is because I knew Python and Java. If I wouldn't have known one of the language, it would have been very difficult for me to identify them from the AI itself.
Okay. Yep.
And yeah, I think it just enhances the confusion to when I Google it and what
Yeah,
should I trust basically.
that makes sense.
Okay, how useful would each of these kinds of be for real code translation into the progress? So is this where you talk about accuracy? You're saying out of these,
Yeah. So the AI makes mistakes, and how, depending on how many mistakes it makes, you know, what do you feel at the usefulness at those levels of numbers of mistakes?
okay. Yeah, so I think till 100 is pretty acceptable. Above 100 is all very acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
10 is useful, but if you're fixing everything per line, definitely I would
Right.
use my own code.
That makes sense.
I think I included everything I wanted to say before.
Okay, then if there's nothing, you can submit. Okay, fantastic. Now, the bad news is there's one more questionnaire.
Okay.
And it's to sort of compare your experiences, so I'm going to paste it here. I really appreciate your patience in doing this.
No worries. Which data
I just pasted the last one in the chat.
Yep. Is this it?
Yes, the post-study questions, yes. So P07, right. So this is sort of the comparison. You worked, without it and with the support.
So I just wrote my experience with AI, but without it's just the opposite, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine to say. Mm-hmm. This is sort of brainstorming, like if there was something that it could help you with. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you were expecting some different kind of answer here.
No, that's perfect. Those are the kinds of things you're saying it would be great to have some help, some automated help with. So that makes perfect sense.
Well, when you say your use of AI or machine learning algorithms, we develop the algorithm actually.
You can just write that we developed the algorithm. That will explain it entirely. As opposed to using a tool that was helping you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Will they? I'm not sure. Can I decide it?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, the stress of the 5 translations. Yeah. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. So just to give you a bit more information at the end here, we're just about at the end of the time. Lots of AI models are being developed for code right now. And some of them are for doing what we did here, translate code from one language to another. There's also generating documentation that's being worked on, and converting natural language to code, where you could sort of write something you want to do and it generates code. So there's a lot of things happening, just to let you know. But there has not been a lot of work, although a lot of models are being developed, there hasn't been a lot of work just watching people use them and seeing whether they're actually useful for software engineers. So we're sort of very much focusing on the human side so we can try to influence that work. And we're interested in understanding whether, in this case, whether AI produced code translation are actually helpful. Like, do they let you work easier or faster? And I saw there were, like, some mixed in your experience there. And how good does the translation need to be for it to be useful? Like, what quality do we have to get to? And we are also building some tools for VS Code that will let you try various AI models out on your code. So we would make those known at IBM if when we get there. So I just really, this is fit in the 2-hour slot. You did an amazing job. I really want to thank you for participating. And so the principal investigator, Justin, is not in the office today, but he's going to send you, I will let him know we completed this, and he'll send you 250 blue points to thank you for participating in the study.
No problem. Glad I was able to help, but yeah, it's a very interesting research that you guys are working on.
Yeah.
Is there, share any link or something about what research you guys are doing? I'm just curious about.
Yes. Let's see. Right now it's written up in a challenge in IBM Research. We do have a paper. I will send you a link to a paper, and I will try to, that's a very good question. And I like the idea of keeping participants in the loop on what's happening. So I will also tell Justin, when I'm suggesting he sends the blue points, to when we do something, a more widely available link to IBM, to make sure you're included. But I'll send you one of our conference papers, and we're hoping to write a paper on this study as a follow-up. But it'll take a while because we're interviewing more than 30 people. So we really, really need participants, and we so appreciate that you did it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I really think I can see the scope in future about how it can be helpful. Yeah. It was really fun to participate.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
So bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too.